Hi guys, Jamie Humphries here for Six String Alliance, and today we're taking a look at the Soldano SLO Overdrive pedal. Now, back in the summer, I had the opportunity to demo the mini SLO head, and I had a lot of fun with that amp, and I thought that gave a pretty authentic replication of the tone of its big brother. So my friends at Boutique Amp Distribution reached out to me a while ago and informed me about the release of this pedal, to which I said, am I going to be included in the list of people to demo it? Which they said yes, which I was very happy about. I really love the Soldano tone, obviously being a huge Van Halen fan and loving that period, that late 80s and early 90s period. And obviously the Soldano very much inspired the design of his PV5150 amp. Now the SLO was released in 1987 and it pretty much became one of the most revered amplifiers in rock, an incredibly detailed sound, very rich sound and plenty of gain, and was a firm favourite of rock and hard rock guitar players. As well as that though, it was able to produce milder crunch, and so you'd see blues guys, you'd see people like Eric Clapton using it and Mark Knopfler and Gary Moore using it, so it's become one of those very iconic sounds. So following on from the release of the mini amp, we see the SLO pedal, the Soldano Overdrive pedal. And straight away, you can see from the appearance of it, it replicates the control panel of the overdrive channel of the amplifier. Now, the idea of this pedal is that it will run in front of your amp, in front of your clean amp, and give you that iconic overdrive. The thing is that I sometimes get a little bit confused with preamp style pedals, in a sense of, well, if I've got my amp set up and I've got my controls, my bass, middle and treble, whatever set up on the amp, and then I'm presented with an amp in a box, what am I meant to do with this? You know, you've got the same kind of controls on the front of it. And so I generally tend to take those sort of preamp style pedals and use them with my 2 notes cab M or in front of other sort of flatter surfaces and let the pedal really come to life, treat the pedal as a preamp. So I was a little kind of confused with this pedal at first, because sometimes you sort of set your amp up in a weird way to enable you to run these type of pedals in front of it. And to start off with, I was a bit like, oh, this isn't really what I expected. I tried running it into the effects return, which did work, but it really drastically changed the sound of the pedal. And then I experimented with it in front of my 2 Notes Cab M using a Dyne IR of a Soldano cab. And yes, it sounded great, but it really affected the tone circuit. So I went back, just set my amp up, giving me a decent clean sound, put the pedal in front, and all of a sudden it came to life. I was like, there you go. Okay, so this really is very much designed to sit in front of a clean amplifier. Okay, so looking at the layout of the pedal, we have the volume control, we have the presence control and the gain control, and then we have the treble, the middle, and the bass control. And it really does replicate the look and the layout of the Soldano amplifier. On the side, we also have the inclusion of a deep switch, and this is meant to emulate the depth control that you see on the front of that amplifier, giving you a little bit more weight to the tone. The layout of the pedal as well, I think it looks fantastic. It has that styling of the Soldano amp. I also kind of like the fact that it's got the input and outputs on the top part, if you like, of the pedal instead of the sides. For me, this will sit very nicely in one of the rack trays in my touring rack. Yeah, it's going to replace a pedal and go straight in without me having to alter any cabling. And of course, here we have your power supply input. So before we get into listening to some tones, I just want to address the intro track. Now, I very much wanted to try to replicate that late 80s, early 90s Eddie Van Halen sound, which we know and love and is associated with the Soldano head. Obviously, the track has a very strong Van Halen sort of sound to it. I referenced OU812, but it kind of went off in another direction a little bit, and I was referencing a few other guitar players of that genre. But some of you are going to say, but that track was very produced. Yeah, the guitar parts were produced. That's the way that I like to do my demos. I like to take a product and use it how I would use it. How will it react to plug-in effects? How will it react to, being recorded within a track? How much EQing am I going to have to do to this to make it sit into the track? All of these kind of factors that I take into consideration when I'm working on a piece of music. I guess it's kind of seeing how the pedal will work within a kind of working scenario. So with regards to effects, the main rhythm guitar was double tracked. I tracked my parts live in front of the camera, and then I double track the rhythm part post using the same sound. There was minimal EQ. There was a little bit of rolling off some of the low end, just shelving slightly. You're going to do that with any guitar sound. You don't want to have a big kind of full low end. You want to try and get the guitar sound to tuck in. And again, same with the top end. But it was minimal EQ that I did to make the guitar tones sit within the track. But obviously, I'm EQing the guitar sound not for the sound of the guitar, I'm EQing it for the sound of the guitar within the track. As well as that, I used an Eventide plug-in. I can't remember the one it is. It's the old vintage one that's within the UAD for that sort of dual pitch modulation sort of sound where you're detuning each side. That's for the rhythm sound. And then for the leads, I used the plug-in version of the TC Spatial Expander. I also used the TC 2290 and the Lexicon Reverb on the UAD. So there is a bit of production going on, but I'm trying to recreate a certain era and a certain sound. And I think that the pedal performed amazingly, considering the fact I'm plugging it in front of a clean amp. Okay, let's have a listen to some tones. The gear I'm using my Music Man, Ernie Ball Music Man BFR Axis. This is the double treble one. This is the nice slab body one with the maple on the back. This is the newest guitar in my collection. I'm running into my Mesa Mini Rec. I'm on the clean channel, and then I'm running into Cab Clone IR, where where I am using a Mesa 4x12. I'm going to use another guitar later on in the demo, but we'll address that when we come to it. So as I said, I just set up a nice clean tone on the Mini Rex. Let's have a listen to the clean sound. That's on the bridge pickup. Okay, let's engage the pedal. I've got pretty much all of the controls in the middle, apart from the volume. I'm pushing that a little bit, so let's have a listen. Okay, as you can hear straight away, there's a lot of gain. We're only halfway up. Let's wind that back ever so slightly. Drop it down a bit more. Okay, so you can get those kind of nice sort of mildly clipped, mildly overdrived amount of gain, if you like. Not too saturated is what I'm saying. As we start to push it up. Starting to come to life there. Push it up a bit further. And finally, all the way up. So this is maximum gain. Let's just back the volume down a little bit on the guitar and see how it cleans up, even with that amount of dry. Okay, so you can hear it's a very dynamic pedal. Bit too much gain for me. I find it gets a little bit too saturated. Onto the EQ. So here we have the treble control. Let's just dial that all the way out. Start to push that up. That's really nice. Really, really nice treble control. Obviously, the more you push it, it's starting to get quite bright. It's kind of got the sound. The Soldanos are known for that sort of top-end sizzle to them, but I kind of like it probably around the halfway mark, to be honest with you. Okay, onto the mid-range control. Let's pull the mid-range all the way out. Okay, start to bring it in. Okay, push it further. Okay, as soon as you start to get that in, it's got a very throaty mid-range, which I really like. I really like the sound of that. The more we push that up, it's not an unpleasant mid-range control, even when you start to really dial it in. And then the low end, this is quite interesting, the bass. I found that when I pushed in the deep switch, I actually preferred having the deep switch in and rolling off a bit of the bass for my rhythm sound. So without any bass. Okay, push that up a bit further. You can hear it starting to get quite a lot of low. And then we've got the deep switch on the side as well. Yeah, there's a lot of low end there now. I kind of liked it sort of around here with the deep switch in, but just backing off the bass ever so slightly. Okay, so as well as that, obviously we've got the presence control, which you can use to, sweeten up your amp. I guess if the tone, once you get your treble in the correct place, then you can add the presence or cut the presence depending on how bright your amp is. Let's cut the presence. Okay, let's bring in a little bit more. Quite dark sounding, but I quite like that. Bring in some presence. Okay, bring up more presence. You can hear getting that sizzle on the top. Yeah, it gets a little bit too bright for me. So as you can hear, it's a really powerful pedal. Bearing in mind, I am plugged directly into the clean channel of my amplifier. And as you are hearing it now, there is nothing else going on. I've just got it in an environment, just a little bit of sort of ambience to put a de-eyed guitar in a space. So, yeah, it sounds absolutely fantastic. Let's try it on the neck pickup, get some of those creamier leads. Yeah, I really like that. So I thought I'd just show some single coil tones for those of you that favour single coils. This is going to sound a little bit different, not just with the single coils, with the fact that the other guitar is in E-flat tuning. And yeah, this is in standard tuning, so forgive me for that. Hopefully that won't be too off-putting. But anyway, it's more about the sound. So let's have a listen to the neck single coil. Split and use the middle of the neck. Okay, turn the gain up on there. That sounds beautiful. Pushing a little bit more low end. Okay, let's have a listen to the middle single coil. push up the gain. Okay, let's go on to these two pickups. Although that's a hot rail, I've got it split, so it's acting like a single coil, kind of. And then we got the middle single coil as well. That sounds lovely. Onto the neck again. Okay, so as you can hear, it just works great. It's just a fantastic pedal. I could just sit here and tweak and mess around with the EQ for ages. I just think that, you know, the sound I've got out of it is a really usable usable tone. So even there, when I drop the gain down, it's just, you can really hear the definition of the notes. So I'm able to go from those sort of mild, overdriven tones, push the gain up, go onto the hot rail. Oh, that sounds really nice. I love this bridge hot rail, this Damasio hot rail I've got in this guitar. It sounds so tight. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So there we have it, the Soldano Overdrive pedal. You can now get those iconic tones on your pedal board. I think that really does sound like a Soldano amp. It's got that mid-range bark and it's got that top-end sizzle to it. It's not going to sound the same as the 100-watt amp, but it's a great approximation of that iconic tone. Obviously, all of this is subjective to the way that people play and the way that people set their gear up. This is going to sound completely different if someone else plays it. I know I was chatting to a buddy of mine from Boutique Amp Distribution, and he was A-Bing between the SLO 30 and this pedal and just had the controls in the same position. And it really did capture the characteristics of that iconic tone. In terms of applications, you could run it into any kind of impulse responses. If you run it into two-note stuff, then obviously you can use their power amp emulation. I ran it into cab M. It worked great. It was just that it was a little bit darker when running it that way. It really needs to have the response of a clean preamp, so running it directly into the front of your amp. And of course, you could also run it into the effects return if you wanted to treat it as a preamp. But again, I think this pedal definitely works best in front of a good, clean tone. I love it. I know it says paid promotion on this video, but I kind of, you know, YouTube isn't my full-time thing. I do other things in music and I do this because I enjoy it, and I'm not about sort of reviewing products on my page or my channel, should I say, that I don't think are very good. So had I not liked this pedal, I would have sent it back immediately and said, sorry guys, this isn't for me, but I think this is great. You may have seen that I did my video of the Rack of Doom just before I went out on tour. this is going in the rack. This is a great addition. It's another great overdriven tone to add more colours and more flexibility to my setup. Anyway, that's it from me. Click the link in the description for more information on this fantastic pedal. If you don't already, please subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed the demo, and I really hope you enjoyed the demo track at the front end, hearing the pedal in a specific musical situation. That's it from me. See you soon. Bye for now.